Thank you for joining us today on EDFA. Welcome to the program. I'm Ayola Kasim. Established in 1980, the Nigerian Conservation Foundation is a premier non-governmental organization dedicated to nature conservation. At its 37th annual general meeting in Lagos, the foundation appointed former Vice President Professor Yemi Osinbajo as the president of its board of trustees, succeeding Chief Philip Asioju. Under this new leadership, the NCF aims to scale nationwide programs and enhance youth participation in climate action. Today on the program, we look at the prospects and, of course, the challenges before the Prof. Do stay with us. Just 135 kilometers northeast of Lagos lies the Omo Forest Reserve in Ogun State. Spanning over 130,000 hectares, Omo is one of West Africa's last sanctuaries for endangered chimpanzees, white-throated Ganon monkeys, and Nigeria's few remaining forest elephants. But this globally recognized biosphere is being systematically dismantled from within. For generations, licensed loggers have operated under state quotas. But as timber demand explodes in the country's commercial hubs, loggers are pushing deeper into the reserve's core preservation zones, and they aren't the only ones moving inward.
I'm Yemi Odoke. I live in Djibouti. I'm a contractor here in area J4. If I could say, highly disappointed, because when I came in here, everything was, the sawmill was working, the road was maintained by the project, but for now, over close to 15 years now, it's only been we contractors that are repairing the road. And most especially now that the Ministry of Agric have, how will I put it, they have put in their own business here. We the contractors, we loggers don't have a say more, because the Ministry of Agric have taken over the forest. Farmers are finishing the wood, destroying the wood for us to cut, to generate resources for the forest ministry, while the farmers are generating resources for the Ministry of Agric. Very soon there won't be any wood left for us. It will only be agric forest here again.
The farmers on their part say they practice agroforestry. They claim when the loggers come, they fell giant trees right on top of the cocoa farms, wiping out their investments.
We paid to the government and they also paid to the government. We pay the paramount ruler when to get a portion of the land. But when we want to harvest our cocoa, it's the government that harvests it and they receive payment on that. The amount paid for a ton is more than 13,000 naira. This is because we still pay the office workers in the Ministry of Agric.
That's Ministry of Agric.
Yeah.
You know, our work is different from the loggers, and that may cause some rancor as our vocations are different. They deal in logs, we plant cocoa. They may come to our plantation and cut the cocoa trees, and this may anger us. This is what may cause enmity between the two groups. What I believe is that government should allocate a portion for us to plant our crop. So we are in an area and the loggers are in another area. The people in this forest planting cocoa got their plantation from the landowners. There is no trespasser planting here. We fight no one over land. We stop wherever our located boundary is.
With inadequate funding and manpower, the boundaries between legal extraction zones and protected sanctuaries have completely blurred. Corruption and unauthorized boundary expansions have left the forest vulnerable to a chaotic free-for-all. As loggers push deep into the core zone and farmers claim the understory, the forest elephants find their habitat fragmented into unlivable patches, stripped of their food and pathways, so the elephants strike back. In 2018, the conflict became deadly in Itasin, a surrounding community. But on the front line is a small team of Nigerian Conservation Foundation's rangers who patrol the thousands of hectares.
Many of the footpath or track you are seeing are not established by us. They're actually elephant road. So any connection you see like this, know that it is elephant that is all those paths. So we are right at the middle of their habitat.
With just over a dozen rangers covering hundreds of square kilometers, almost thin green line is heavily outmatched. To face armed loggers and hostile farming communities with minimal protective gear and questionable legal backing from local courts.
Protected area is not like a zoological garden where the wildlife are kept inside enclosure, so they are moving on their free within their free habitats. So the possibility of wildlife encounters often arrive. They might come by dangerous animal that may want to charge at them, and that also put their life at risk. Also, rangers work in a rugged terrain. They have to walk long distance every day. They have to cover a specific area, during that daily patrol, regardless of the number of rivers, the hills they have to or other obstacles they have to overcome. So those are some of those problems. And also, it doesn't matter what the weather says. Once they are in the forests, when heavy rain comes, they still have to, because even there's no way to hide, inside the rain. So regardless of weather, so they work in harsh weather, to complete their assignments.
The greatest paradox of Omo lies in its administrative structure. Managed under a dual mandate by the state government, part of the forests are licensed for commercial timber concessions, while the inner core is meant to be a strictly protected conservation zone. Without clearly defined physical boundaries, the line between legal economy and environmental crime has completely blurred. Migrant farmers move into the fertile soils of the reserve because they lack formal land rights. They build temporary settlements, which are reported to be more than 70 currently, constantly clearing deeper into the elephant's habitat to avoid detection. Despite the relentless pressures, Omo remains a place of profound resilience. Thanks to the relentless poachers-turned-rangers patrols, there has not been a single recorded incident of elephant poaching in the reserve for over 10 years. But many point that the task ahead is stark, and the Nigerian Conservation Foundation knows the challenges too well. The protected forests across the country are not peaceful sanctuaries at the moment. They are active battlegrounds. Over the past 3 decades, the country has lost nearly all of its primary forest cover, falling victim to a multi-billion naira black market driven by timber trafficking, illegal mining, and unregulated poaching. For the men and women tasked with defending Nigeria's biodiversity, leadership is measured not in corporate boardrooms, but in survival. The line between environmental preservation and national security has completely vanished. This highlights the core challenge of conservation leadership in Nigeria, which experts summarize as institutional bottleneck. While the Nigerian Conservation Foundation pushes for landscape restoration in all the areas it operates across the country, state governments have historically been slow to finalize and enforce upgraded forest bills. Now the foundation is shifting its leadership strategy to bring massive political weight to the table.
We're also trying to replicate LCC in other parts of the country. We already have a large expanse of land in Abuja. We're trying to finalize the paperwork for that because I think that also is very attractive. LCC is very attractive. In fact, a lot of people who don't know NCF, when you say, oh, I'm in NCF or I'm a chairman of NCF, so NCF, they look a bit confused. But the moment you say Lekki Conservation Center, oh, their faces light up and they understand. So we realize that we need to replicate this more. It's also a real hands-on way of people seeing what the benefits are in conservation, in having a green space.
Nigeria stands at a razor-thin ecological tipping point, with over 90% of its original rainforest already degraded. The country's rich biodiversity faces an existential threat from illegal logging, urban sprawl, and climate instability. For decades, the battle to protect these vanishing ecosystems has been fought in isolated silos. Non-profits lacked political muscle, governments lacked continuity. But in mid-2026, environmentalists say there is now a seismic shift in leadership, which they believe may rewrite the playbook. After a quarter century of dedicated service, Conservation patriarch Chief Philip Asiodu stepped down as president of the Board of Trustees, and in his place, the Nigerian Conservation Foundation appointed a man intimately familiar with the highest corridors of power, former Vice President Professor Yemi Osinbajo.
And I think it's even more remarkable that Chief Asiodu, as well as several others, including the founder, Chief S.L. Edu of blessed memory, and Chief Akintola Williams, I believe Chief Asukwo Obot, was it Dr. Asukwo Obot, Professor Ajayi, Seth Ajayi and co., who were the initial thought leaders and founders of the NCF. I think that was a generation of visionary Nigerians who somehow, so many years ago, saw the importance of environmental conservation, of biodiversity, long, long before climate change ever became the issue that it is today. And so I think that they deserve our commendation, they deserve our thanks, because but for them, perhaps we would not have the foundations that this country has been able to lay for climate action would never have been laid. We are way ahead of several other countries of the world, way, way ahead, on account of the vision of these gentlemen in those early days.
The 2025 to 2030.
As Vice President from 2015 to 2023, Professor Osinbajo wasn't just a politician, he was the architect of Nigeria's Net Zero 2060 economic blueprint. By taking the helm of the country's premier environmental non-governmental organization, he bridges the historic gap between high-level state governance and grassroots ecosystem preservation. Professor Osinbajo's leadership marks a deliberate generational pivot for the NCF. While honoring pioneering founders like Chief Eseleju, he has explicitly stated that the foundation's next phase relies on the enthusiastic support of young Nigerians. By centering youth in the NCF's agenda, the foundation aims to convert youth climate anxiety into structured green jobs, ranging from urban circular economy startups to rural forest restoration collectives under the Green Recovery Nigeria program.
One of the key issues, of course, is how to address biodiversity issues. We need to have a better plan, especially for biodiversity. We need to take advantage also of climate change. Climate change offers some opportunities that we ought to take advantage of. One of those is climate positive growth. The notion that using renewable energy, which we have in abundance, we can actually advance our economic objectives much more speedily, create more jobs and create more opportunities. So I think that we're going to focus a great deal on the development opportunities that climate change offers, the jobs it offers, the new opportunities it offers, the great vistas that it opens up, especially for the generation, for this younger generation. I think that there is great opportunity, there's great hope.
Nigeria's biggest conservation challenge has never been a lack of ideas. It has been said that it's been a bottleneck in enforcement. Under Professor Osinbajo's leadership, the NCF says its first major target is transforming conservation from a charitable hobby into a core economic driver.
We see a new phase of conservation because we are going to see a lot more younger people being part of this move. And why would they do that? Because they understand now that it's not just about protect the ocean or the forest, but it's actually the infrastructure on which their generation will build. And so except the young people have a buy-in into it, they have to see that it is for them, not so much for us. And with that, I know that there will be an improvement in the behavior. There will be a change in the attitude and the mindset and the culture towards conservation. Because yes, we need funding, because a lot of what we need to do require funding. But then there is a lot of money also in that space, right? Now we are in the NCF is working with the federal government to have a survey and have a proper data of the value of our forests and all of our ecology that we have. So we know the true value, and we are able to have proper data. And if these young people are part of what we are doing, then we are sure that the funding will come that is required to do what needs to be done, because they would also have the right attitude and culture and behavior towards protecting their own. It's not money alone that solves the problem, but the mindset and the behavior.
The NCF enters its next chapter with a highly visible advocate capable of elevating conservation to a matter of national security and economic strategy. By combining Chief Asiodu's institutional foundation with Professor Osinbajo's expertise in global climate diplomacy and national governance, experts say Nigeria's conservation movement is positioning itself to be more technologically advanced, financially sustainable, and politically influential.
But I'm very optimistic, and I'm optimistic because money will follow ideas, money will follow commitment, it will follow dedication. And I think we have all of that. We have the ideas, we have the dedication, we have the commitment, so we expect that the money will come. I'm not unduly worried about that, because I think that if you are committed to a cause, and there are so many sources of resources to do this work. There's so many sources of resources. And again, we are not really looking for hard cash. We are looking for collaboration. We are looking for co-travelers, working with co-travelers who may have the resources that you don't have. So it's not necessarily, we're not building a fund, if you see what I mean. What we're doing is seeking collaborators, people who are going the same pathway as we are, and we're trying to work together with them. And there's so many all over the world. There's an international alliance, a global alliance of people, a global coalitions of people who are doing exactly the same sort of work. And that has been the case since the foundation of this foundation of the NCF. So we're not unduly worried about resources.
Under this new leadership era, the NCF is heavily investing in digital technology to modernize field operations across Nigeria. The foundation is rolling out specialized tracking systems designed to monitor project stages, manage outstanding funds, and oversee field officers in real time. This technological modernization, they say, will directly back the protection of 58 endangered species. They say it provides better intelligence for rangers defending critically threatened habitats.
Us at NCF, we deal with a lot of partners. We're conducting a lot of projects all over.